Important facts about bereavement and probate real estate in California. That's our topic today. We'll get started right after this. Grieving is a natural and universal response to loss. It has been experienced by people throughout history and across cultures. And bereavement is an important part of the human experience. In the past, grief was not always well understood or treated, but today we have a much deeper understanding of how grief affects people, thanks in part to advances in healthcare. While we often have the privilege, for some even the expectation, of only losing our loved ones when they are at a ripe old age, comfortable and with the family nearby, this is not always reality. We helped Sam through the process that was hugely painful for him, where his son had passed away. He was only 42 years old, and he passed away in the property that he had turned into like a life hack. He purchased a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that over the garage had a 1-bedroom, 1-bath property, and he was living in the 1-bedroom, 1-bath and renting out the 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So he was really doing so well with life when he passed away unexpectedly. So Sam really wanted to have the property sold as quickly as possible. We were able to help get an estate sale company in there quickly. And this was during the pandemic, so the estate sale company had to do it differently because we weren't doing all the in-person stuff that we are now back doing. So they ended up doing an online auction of the personal property of Sam's son. And that, once that was all taken care of, we were quickly able to prepare the house with some cost-effective repairs and get it cleaned, all that, and get it on the market and get it sold. So this is just an example of, this wasn't Sam's mother who was 95 years old, although that's a painful situation also in many cases, but this was Sam's child. And of course, none of us want to outlive our children. Burials, funerals, and other mourning rituals are common worldwide and serve as a way for people to honor and pay tribute to their loved ones. These rituals can vary from culture to culture, but they often involve family and friends coming together to remember and celebrate the life of the person who has passed away. And this is the experience when grieving and being responsible for a home in probate real estate in California can be even more of a burden. Let's do a little bit about the important facts about grieving and the history that I'd like to share with you. Grieving was not always given the same level of attention and care as it is today. You may find it interesting that in 1917, the famous psychologist Sigmund Freud, he wrote that grieving is a natural process and that should not be interfered with. This sentiment reflects the idea that grief is a normal and necessary part of life and that it does not always require special attention. However, as the century progressed, there was an increasing interest in understanding grieving and its stages. It is a common misconception that grief and mourning are interchangeable terms. However, it is important to note that grief refers to the internal pain and suffering experienced after a loss, while mourning is the external expression of that pain. It is also worth noting that those who are grieving may also experience secondary losses, such as the financial insecurity or loss of housing, especially when the death triggers a sale of the probate real estate in California. Contrary to popular belief, these important facts about the stages of grief do not always occur in a linear fashion or predictable manner. It is not uncommon for individuals to skip stages, experience multiple emotions simultaneously, or even revisit earlier stages. Grieving can be a physically and emotionally draining process, often referred to as grief work. It is important for those experiencing grief to prioritize self-care in order to manage the demands of this process. Remember that it is okay to take breaks, rest, and seek support from friends and loved ones. It is important to understand that grief is not something that can be fully resolved. Many individuals who have experienced loss report that grief is an ongoing process that may occur at varying intensities throughout their lives. Grief is an integral and universal part of the human experience, and it is natural to feel a range of emotions as you navigate this difficult time. The Kubler-Ross method, also known as the 5 stages of grief, was introduced in 1969 and has influenced the way grief has been approached for many years. According to this model, the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. It is important to remember that everyone experiences grief differently, and it is okay to move through these stages at your own pace. It isn't uncommon when I'm working with clients and their families through the probate process that there are a lot of feelings around the personal property and the preparing and the selling of the probate real estate here in California. And it is a process that must be gone through. And so much of the time, what I try to do, and my team also, is to do whatever we can to help make the process simpler for our executor, administrator, and trustee clients, because they know they have to get through this process. And going through the personal property can be very painful for families. Sometimes families have a great time going through everything together, and sometimes there's just a lot of difficulty in it. So that's why it's become important to me and my team that we do what we can to help. To return back to the stages, they are not necessarily experienced in a linear fashion, and everyone grieves differently. Denial is a common response to grief and may manifest as feeling numb or carrying on as if nothing has happened. It is also common to feel the presence of the deceased. Sometimes people say they hear their voices or even see them. Anger is a natural emotion that may arise after the loss of a loved one. It is common to feel anger towards the person who has died, or to feel angry at oneself for things that were said or not said before the death. Bargaining is a coping mechanism that involves making deals with oneself or a higher power in an effort to alleviate pain. This may involve revisiting the past and asking what if questions, or wishing for the ability to change what has happened. Depression is a common aspect of grief and can involve intense feelings of sadness and longing. It may also feel like life has lost its meaning. And acceptance is a process that may take time and involve coming to terms with the loss. While it is not possible to get over the death of a loved one, it is possible to learn to live again while still cherishing the memories of those who have passed. It is important to remember that it is okay to move through these stages at your own pace and to seek support from friends, loved ones, or a professional therapist if needed. Grief can be a challenging journey, but it is possible to find ways to cope and heal. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this of value, and I look forward to seeing you next week.